You are watching. Pause. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 219, Commercial Human Brain Computers. Today's episode, unfortunately, is an uncomfortable one. Every once in a while, we come across a subject or an event, something that has happened that simply is regrettable. But nonetheless, a subject that is good to at least try to pick down and talk about. And that's what we're doing today. I have tried to do today's subject justice by doing my research and not try to react too quickly to it. I've tried to, both see what is being done, but also to try to catch up myself to what is really being said here and what is really being rolled out here. Not trying to diminish the subject, but not trying to make it worse either. Trying to find that sober, realistic, truthful, in our gut, truthful perspective on it. So, what we're talking about today is that some companies now, or at least one company in particular, located in Australia, have started making what is called a new product. And the product is, I will try to take it from the start. What they're doing is that they're taking stem cells, human stem cells, from different places in human bodies. And then by different biological scientific methods. They are refining and transforming the cells, the stem cells, into cortical neurons, cortical neural cells. And the cortex is the outermost layer of our brain. And this layer, these neural cells, the cortical cells, are the advanced brain cells that signify our unique humanness. When we recognize each other as distinctively human in our interaction, it's much due to the sort of work being done by our cortical cells. And this company in Australia are taking these cortical cells and placing them inside a little dish on top of, as I understand it, this sort of silicon wafer. This sort of silicon wafer with electrodes in it. These tiny electrodes. So they are cultivating cortical brain cells on top of what could be called a chip, as I understand it, or at least an electrical grid. So human brain tissue on top of an electrical grid. And then they allow for the cells to grow and create connections with each other on top of the sort of silicon wafer. And after some time, when the cells have become like a little lump, a little cluster of brain cells, then they run electrical coding through it. They feed information, digital information, if I understand it right, into this sort of cluster of brain cells, of human brain cells. And then the human brain cells interpret the information and feeds back an output signal. And then they put this circuit that they have created, this closed circuit, they put that in a box, in this sort of standard computer-like box. And then they call it a computer. And this human brain cell tissue is said to be not a human brain. It's being called a few different things. It's being called wetware, which basically is like a play on words from hardware, software, and then wetware, that since the brain tissue lies in liquid and is wet, then it's wetware. And they call it also synthetic biological intelligence. And they create an acronym for it, a short form called SBI. So Synthetic Biological Intelligence, SBI. And they compare this SBI to other forms of intelligence. They compare it to human intelligence, and they compare it to artificial intelligence, and other sorts of intelligences. And they talk about this intelligence as one among many different intelligences that can be parallel processing information. So they're basically promoting it as an alternative to regular computers. To have regular computers and these wetware computers work in tandem. And now they are selling these computers. They are rolling them out to an open market. So now, when we have tried to disinterestedly describe what is being done, I feel that it is necessary to pause for a second or two and simply establish that it is embarrassing that we even have to talk about this. It is disgusting. It is shameful. To take human brain cells and hook them up to an electrical circuit and use them as computers is perverse. And unfortunately, this is a subject that needs to be picked down and looked upon, because it is being rolled out. It is there is now a commercial market for it. People are buying these so-called computers. Yes. Today's episode is called Commercial Human Brain Computers. And we are focusing what is most important to focus on, I think. If you have other suggestions of what is important to focus on this subject, please comment below. I think it's important to focus on that it's one thing that they are doing it on their own, but to do it and roll it out to a free market, that is something else. So when they roll it out to an open market, then people worldwide, an international market, is created for buying and selling human brains. Open market. an open white market for selling and buying human brains and using them as computers. And our emotional situation of today is our confused situation. And it's pretty self-explanatory that today's subject is confusing. It is confusing. And our emotional skill of today is specific skill internet. Because now, or up until now I should say, when we have gone onto the internet, then maybe you and I are writing to each other, you are commenting here below, and the infrastructure of internet between us is just computers, regular computers, silicon-based processors, ones and zeros. But depending now on how widespread or how scaled this market for these so-called wetware computers become, then the infrastructure that you and I are making use of in the internet has also these human brain computers in it. So this is uncomfortable to acknowledge, but you and me are being made accomplices in using these computers, only in a tiny scale, but still the infrastructure we are using is now in part being made up of human brains put in boxes. Yes. And it is impossible not to feel confused by today's subject. It's very clear for you to see that I feel very uneasy talking about this. It's an almost impossible subject to talk about without being shook. I feel shook right now. Sometimes it would seem that mankind takes a step that is simply confused. And this step that is now being taken, putting human brains in boxes, using them as computers, it's just confused. It's just confused. So, what we always try to do when something is confusing in this way is that we pause for a second or two and try our best to just allow our body our guts and our heart to just catch up to what is happening. And if I have understood the expressed ambitions behind making this endeavor, is that to use these human brains in dishes as for drug testing and programming primarily. If I have understood it correctly, I do not know. I think so though, but so we will see how widespread the use of human brains as computers will become. It's a frightening subject. And this is a difficult one to pause with. This is a difficult one. And perhaps this subject is one that will take many years to fully pause with. Might take some years. That's it for today. Thank you.